From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN Noon News.
Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us on the Noon News. I'm Andrea Lutz. The family of George Floyd meets with President Joe Biden today to mark the first anniversary of his murder. His death sparked ongoing protests and a re-examination of racism and policing in the United States. Skylar Henry reports from the White House.
A moment of silence will be held in Minneapolis this afternoon to mark the one-year anniversary of George Floyd's murder.
It has been a painful year.
Floyd's family is marking the somber occasion in Washington, D.C., meeting with President Biden and also with top lawmakers.
He wanted this meeting to be private in order to have a real conversation.
Floyd's murder, caught on cell phone and body cameras, sparked massive protests worldwide, calling for racial justice and police reform. President Biden called on Congress to come up with meaningful police reform by today, but that deadline won't be met.
We want to get this deal right and not quick.
One of the main negotiators, Senator Cory Booker of New Jersey, tells CBS this morning he's hopeful a deal can be reached in the weeks ahead.
Everybody feels, I believe, a shared commitment to get something substantive, meaningful done that will create more transparency, more accountability.
In Minneapolis, the mayor has outlined policing proposals, re-emphasized or introduced after Floyd's death, banning neck restraints and chokeholds, and banning most no-knock warrants.
There are a lot of emergencies in our city that don't necessarily require a police response and aren't made safer by the department that we have.
The policing proposals come as crime figures show a 250% increase in gunshot victims across the city. But Minneapolis's focus today is on George Floyd, with a planned celebration of his life. Skylar Henry, CBS News, the White House.
Derek Chauvin was found guilty on 3 charges just last month. More than a year after Floyd's death, we're getting a look at how Americans view police violence in our country. A poll by the Associated Press found Americans are more likely now to say police violence is a serious problem. About half of people polled said Derek Chauvin's conviction didn't change their level of confidence in the justice system. 1/3 said their confidence actually increased. Prisons across the country are struggling to hire correctional officers. There's currently more than 6,000 vacancies, according to the Justice Department. Some prisons are using other staff members, including counselors and teachers, to guard inmates. The pandemic hasn't helped staffing issues either. Nearly 7,000 prison employees across the country got sick with COVID. 4 of them died. Help is on the way for Montana and Wyoming farmers dealing with drought. Producers are now eligible for emergency loans to replace equipment of livestock. Almost every county in Wyoming was declared a primary disaster area. A large area of southeastern Montana included 2. To qualify for the loan, producers must suffer crop losses of at least 30%. Butte authorities are still investigating the fire that destroyed the historic M&M bar. Officials say the flames were so devastating, it's likely the cause of the fire will never be determined. That fire burned so hot it collapsed the entire structure onto itself, making a final determination difficult. Investigators say they know the fire started in the kitchen, but can't figure out how. The owner of the M&M says she plans to rebuild in that same location. At least 25 states have fully vaccinated half of adults living there. That's new information coming from the CDC. Maine has the highest proportion of adults who are fully vaccinated at 62%. Nearly 50% of all adults in the country received both doses of the shot. COVID case numbers are down by 57% from what they were 1 month ago, and according to data from Johns Hopkins. Millions of people have already been vaccinated against COVID-19, and we're learning more about how long protection could last. Medical experts say a booster shot may be needed down the road to stay protected. Here's Mary O'Connell with why a booster shot could be necessary to continue.
Over the last few months, millions of Americans have waited in line, rolled up their sleeves, all for the COVID-19 vaccine. And now the conversation on booster shots continues.
Do you think it's likely that we will need a booster of the COVID-19 vaccines at some point.
Yeah, I do. And there's two reasons for that.
USF Health's Dr. Jill Roberts says one reason has to do with mutations.
As the variants spread, we get new variants and it mutates. So it makes a lot of sense to actually boost at about 1 year and adjust that vaccine to whatever strain's actually going around.
She says the other reason is with antibody levels. Dr. Michael Longley with Advent Health North Pinellas tells me the data we're seeing right now at the 6-month mark is very promising and shows people who've had the 2-shot series from Pfizer or Moderna are maintaining a good level of immunity.
The unknown is, what is it going to look at 9 months? What will it look like at a year?
Dr. Longley also explained what a booster actually does to your immune system.
Over time, the body can sort of forget what that infection looks like. And so in simple terms, a booster is really just a refresher or a reminder.
And while studies continue, experts want you to look at the idea of a booster on the bright side.
The worst case scenario is we go back to shutdowns and masks and distancing and all this awful stuff we've had to do for the last year. If the trade-off is, I can just go get a vaccine.
In Tampa, Mary O'Connell, ABC Action News.
Live entertainment venues will begin receiving money from the Small Business Administration starting next week. Concert halls, theaters, and other venues will receive $16 billion worth of grants. Each business could receive up to $10 million. Since November, the Small Business Administration has been dealing with a series of issues and hasn't been able to award the money until now. There's some major progress being made on the Higgins Avenue Bridge in Missoula. Take a look at this. Many have gotten used to the construction on the Bear Tracks Bridge, and now the west side is open. The new shared use walkway is much wider than the old path. Traffic was swapped to the west side of that new walkway to open it up for pedestrians and cyclists. And the intersection of 3rd Street in Higgins is also open to traffic. Construction is expected to be complete by next spring. We do have more ahead on today's new news, including taking a look at some new technology being viewed as life-saving in the state of Utah. Could Montana and other states also benefit? We'll have the story. But first, Ed McIntosh will be in with a look at the statewide weather forecast.
Storm Tracker weather starts now with meteorologist Ed McIntosh.
Welcome back. Gusty winds highlighted the weather yesterday. Strong winds through central Montana, routinely over 50 miles an hour. And we had a number of reports outside the major reporting stations that were over 60 miles an hour. Now, while the winds were strong across the eastern plains yesterday, they've remained very brisk here even through midday and will continue to be a factor into the afternoon. Wind gusts of 45 miles an hour right now in Williston, North Dakota. Miles City seeing wind gusts over 30. Billings has been breezy off and on throughout the morning, but the bulk of it is in eastern Montana and then really into the Dakotas where the strong winds have shifted from yesterday. Current temperatures are a mix. Look at the 50s along the high line, and then temperatures as cool as 49 right now in Lewistown. Meantime, Billings has already warmed up to 68 degrees, and we're looking at readings into the 60s through northern Wyoming as well. So while we're seeing the warmer temperatures start to build in with the clearer skies, we also have some showers across the northern tier of the state here as of midday. As this upper low, and you can see the rotation on this low, digs down and brings a cold front back in and across the region. There's the dividing line there. Meanwhile, moisture is starting to come in from the Pacific Northwest, so we put all of these ingredients together. We'll end up with the wind in the eastern plains, showers, thunderstorms starting to move into areas west of the Continental Divide, and then the colder air shifting down from the north, which will start to turn into a little more active afternoon in areas of southwest Montana. Some scattered showers and thunderstorms, pockets of heavier rain, could even have perhaps some small hail involved with some of these storms. And as this starts to move across the region, this low will dig in and create the environment for showers and thunderstorms across a widespread area for tomorrow. Now notice that the northern edge of the state, basically Missouri River north, is going to have a little more trouble getting some of the moisture on the ground. But much of the area has the potential for at least getting some wetting rains for tomorrow. Some areas a quarter to a half inch of precipitation. And as these thunderstorms develop and roll through, some areas could see perhaps 3/4 of an inch to a little bit more. The high pressure area starts to build back in on Thursday, and then the next cold front will move in and starts to affect our weather as we start looking into Friday afternoon. So the best chance of showers for today and thunderstorms will be in areas of central and western Montana as that next system moves in. And then overnight heading into tomorrow, that'll start to push across the eastern plains, and the potential for some stronger thunderstorms in this shaded area I have in yellow from around the Billings area down into northern Wyoming. Temperatures today will be mainly into the 50s and 60s. We're already seeing some of those warmer readings starting to build in, so we could see the temperatures peak and then drop down into the 40s overnight. That's where that chance of a shower or thunderstorm starts to move through. Tomorrow we'll look for the daytime highs to be cooler overall as those showers and thunderstorms kind of wind their way across the region. So for the areas of western Montana, look for temperatures to be in the 60s pretty consistently. A little cooler for tomorrow with a chance of a stray shower or thunderstorm into the mix. Great Falls and Helena will be dealing with some wind in the mix along the way as well, especially by Friday as the temperatures back off and another disturbance starts to move in. So a real up and down in the temperatures for areas of southwest Montana, Bozeman, Butte, Dillon, Anaconda, Deer Lodge. Looking at the cooler temperatures for tomorrow, and the chance of showers or thunderstorms will just pop up randomly after that. And across the eastern plains, we'll be looking at temperatures continuing to move up into the 50s, 60s, and then some 70s behind that. That does it for weather.
All right, thanks, Ed. On average, each year, drunk driving kills 10,000 people on our roads and causes 300,000 injuries. Well, now there's a bipartisan effort in Congress to address the issue. As Maya Rodriguez tells us, 2 bills are trying to reduce drunk driving with technology.
This photo says it all. A beaming Katie Snyder Evans, weeks after giving birth nearly 4 years ago, finally able to hold her premature twin daughters together for the first time. And the last time.
On her way home from the hospital one night after visiting the twins, she was hit and killed by a drunk driver.
Katie's father, Ken Snyder, is on the faculty of Utah State University and now a technology advisor for Mothers Against Drunk Driving.
I'm not an independent commentator on this topic. I am a grieving father.
His latest focus, 2 bills with bipartisan sponsors in Congress, the HALT Act in the House and the RIDE Act in the Senate, which are looking to tap into technology to prevent drunk driving.
The goal is to mandate drunk driving prevention technology as standard as seatbelts and airbags on all new passenger vehicles.
According to MAD, there are currently 241 forms of vehicle technology, like lane assist or driver monitoring, that could be used to combat drunk driving by, in some cases, reprogramming that tech to safely pull an impaired driver over. The bills in Congress seek to create federal rules so that the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, or NHTSA, could begin that process.
It would require NHTSA to figure out what the best technology is. The bill is tech neutral, which means that they can look at all the different options and decide what they believe is best, and then mandate that technology to be placed on all new cars.
For its part, a major auto industry group says it would like to keep working on it. They declined an interview, but told us in a statement, quote, "We share the goal of eliminating alcohol-impaired driving. Automakers are working collaboratively with the U.S. Department of Transportation and other stakeholders to develop innovative technologies that have the potential to prevent alcohol-impaired driving, a prevention that comes too late for many families, including Ken Snyder's."
The woman that killed my daughter was driving 95 miles an hour on a city boulevard. The veering, the side swiping, the lane changing, any one of the simple technologies that are already available on cars would have shut her down, if only activated.
A possibility they don't want to see pass other families by. In Washington, I'm Maya Rodriguez.
And your latest Ag News is coming up next with Lane.